All right, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining the January 2022 Life Design Analysis webinar. Should also say Happy New Year to all of the advisors out there, and again, thank you so much for joining us on our webinar this month. Hopefully everyone closed out 2021 on a strong note, and again, the nice thing about a new year is it's a completely fresh slate, and a lot of times this is when we look at implementing new ideas and really kind of trying to up our results from the previous year. Obviously, at least out here in Ontario where we're based, we're in a stage 2 lockdown currently. And that makes it, very difficult for insurance advisors, especially those who are, used to meeting with clients. When we do get more remote, I see a lot more focus on the topic of generating online leads. And again, other ways to fill the funnel up with prospects. And so, we thought it would be a good idea to revisit LDA Lead Gen this month, and LDA Lead Gen is exactly that. It's a tool within the LDA tool set that you can actually embed on your website, and it can actually help you generate people who are browsing or looking for life insurance information, looking to do a review and see options. It can help you generate right from your web page people who are just browsing and actually turn them into leads for you that you can actually sell. And we're going to show a lot of kind of interesting ideas in this webinar. So just to give a kind of a brief agenda of what we're going to cover today, let's go ahead and get started. So some of the things I wanted to cover today, one, obviously, what is LDA Lead Gen? So if you haven't seen, sort of our add-on product that you can embed on your website, I'm going to show you a little bit about what LDA Lead Gen actually is. We're going to go through how easy it is to install. So how to install it is kind of our next topic, but it really is very easy. So even if you're, not very tech savvy or don't manage your own website, this is something you can hand to your web developer. It's a simple copy paste. Should take them about 30 seconds to implement. But there's a lot of sort of customization that you can actually get into on our end as well in the account settings. So I'll show you how you can sort of customize your lead gen once you've generated sort of that snippet of code to paste it on your website. How you can brand it to your look and feel, even have a custom note on it. And then we're going to talk about how to drive traffic to it. So it's one part, having this great tool on your website that can actually convert people who visit to clients. However, we also need to drive people there to browse the website. And we've got a couple great ideas that we can give you. So some example campaigns, and we've even got a free template giveaway for those who stick around to the end. So we'll be sending that out with any CE credits. Now, before I get into, sort of all about the what is LDA Lead Gen, let's just talk a little bit about why LDA Lead Gen exists. I mentioned COVID. So COVID obviously has forced us all to work a little bit more remotely. And, really over this time, we've seen a lot of change and a lot of innovation in the insurance space. Things like e-apps accelerating, underwriting requirements, really limiting. But a lot of these processes are sort of more at the carrier level, and they don't really help advisors when they're front of sale through digital prospecting and actually finding clients to sell the product through. So, a lot of the fulfillment issue, has really been worked on. But, we still have sort of that distribution issue of actually getting in front of the client and finding clients who are looking to purchase insurance. And unfortunately, COVID makes that a lot more difficult because many of our traditional prospecting methods are unavailable. Now, to compound that, we also have a changed consumer experience. So, throughout the COVID last 2 years, and even prior to that, consumers were largely shifting to digital in favor of convenience. So again, we saw this, things like Netflix streaming instead of Blockbuster. We saw, sort of the rise of Uber and Amazon in terms of changing the landscape of, a lot of people say transportation in Uber's case, but really commerce, having in-app purchases, having your credit card on file, using that in the combination of location services. So, the customer experience because of other industries has really changed, and, wealth solutions and life insurance solutions are really no different. Consumers expect a more in-depth, broad experience, and we do really have a new type of customer who really likes the DIY aspect of, they may be going with a professional, but they like to research all the options and understand them. And because of the access to information out there, they're more able to do that. And again, a lot of the times they stumble with life insurance because they do want to do some of their own planning, but again, we make it very distant from them. The information is hard to capture, and again, you're sort of at the will of your singular broker. So a lot of times they want to validate that and do some of their own independent research. And again, sort of a third threat is that we do actually have renewed competition. I wouldn't say robo-advisors are completely prominent out there in the insurance space, but there are at least a couple notable kind of examples where it really is a B2C play. And you may have an independent advisor behind it, or even many independent advisors behind a digital platform. But again, if you think about the traditional independent advisor, it's really hard for them to compete with a business that is designed to mimic a robo or designed to give the full service, when oftentimes our independent advisors actually want to give kind of a hybrid model. If you want to meet with me over Zoom, that's great. If you want to meet with me in person, that's great. But again, it's really hard to scale all aspects of your business, especially the digital one, if you don't lack the skills, or maybe you lack the investment to build a complete B2C site for your consumers. And quite frankly, again, until you generate a real large velocity of them, a lot of advisors, it doesn't make sense to shift to a completely digital model. So again, this is hard to invest in an entire tech stack when you want it to be one facet of your overall operation, and maybe not even the biggest part. So, again, it is difficult for independent advisors. There's lots of problems out there. And again, that's why I say we developed LDA Lead Gen. So we heard a lot from our clients that, people love operating the report, and often they'll do them live or they'll send them a shared case after. But they wanted the ability for their clients to perform that kind of action, or a more gated experience, but on their actual website. And that's where we created Lead Gen, which again would be an easy to insert or install on your website, customized for your brand, but really be able to do these three things: capture the prospect details, so those who are shopping on your website and looking to gather information, we want to capture them so that you can reach out to them. We also want to help establish a need and purpose. So one of the things we saw out there with other sort of online lead capture tools was that, again, if you're going to sell them something, you're still going to have to do a needs analysis, and you're still going to really want to understand that client. So one, helping them sort of define their own need is a great engagement tool for them, and a lot of customers are curious about this, but it also gives you a lot of information on your client, and hopefully helps you in the fulfillment aspect of when you need to produce a needs analysis that you've done for the client to sell a product. Hopefully we've already had that done and actually had the client input. And three, of course, a lot of clients are out there kind of kicking tires. They're looking for quotes, but I find, with most lead capture tools out there, they simply let the client pick the duration they're looking for as if they know. So they'll say, I'm looking for $1 million of term 10 insurance. Our premise is that we want to cater a few different options around a time frame. So, while term might be appropriate in a lot of these situations, we want to show them term 10, 20, 30 so they can make an informed decision. And that's really what LDA Lead Gen helps you do. And again, what I'm going to help you show you today. Now, of course, the next part of once you install it is driving that traffic to it, driving those interested customers to your website so that they can actually go through, do a little bit of that DIY research, get educated at the same time, and again, you can follow up on them. I'll show you lots of interesting things like, the case sharing stats. So if you haven't seen our case sharing, a lot of the information of how they engage on that case is recorded, and I'll show you some of that. So some really neat tools that you can help market with as well. Now, just before I get into implementation, I do want to just really quickly show a walkthrough of what the customer experience would be like. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to give a quick demo of the lead gen process. This is embedded on LDA's CMS page, so just a landing page that I've created. But again, this is something that you can stick on any page, ideally behind a call to action like get a quote or review your insurance options. So I'm just going to jump over here to my LDA lead gen page, and you can see this looks very much like our regular page. Like our regular website if you're navigating it. This is just set up as, kind of a CMS page. So all my regular headers are going to apply, footers, and this is just the only website I have access to. But again, you could put this, if you picture your sort of website, if you have a, sort of explore your insurance options or get a quote or review your insurance needs, that could be your call to action anywhere on your site. A lot of people, and I'll try and give maybe some examples later on of their site, they'll have multifaceted services. Under the life insurance services, you can have a little bit of text and then insert the iframe. So it doesn't necessarily have to just be all this single one page here, but basically what you're seeing within this sort of white space is the simple copy and paste that we give you. Again, as your clients go through it, they can toggle and fill in this kind of customized information as it relates to them. It's going to try and pick up the client's location automatically. You can say if you do or don't smoke, and again, it wants you to input your birthday here. So again, this is where I'm going to say I was a 50-year-old man. As I said, we're also looking for the purpose for buying insurance. So they have a variety of different options. Again, these are all going to tell us about what sort of product and also time length as well. So, if they're looking for supplemental work coverage, they might think about coverage till 65. If they're buying a house, they might think about T10, 20, 30 because of the mortgage length. If they're looking at critical illness, again, they want critical illness products in there. But again, we'll keep it simple. I'll say this insurance buyer was, sort of browsing my website for insurance options, and this was their sort of purpose. Again, they're going to say they don't know how much insurance they need, but they could always specify a certain amount if they had done their own needs analysis. As I say, we're trying to push them to this option because we want to actually capture some of those needs about them. Again, next comes to the gate. So I'm going to have to enter that I am Charlie Conron, or in this case, maybe I'll just say Bob Conron because this one's tied to my account, just so we'll see that it's Bob Doe, and we'll give Bob a phone number. And Bob's email, bob@gmail.com. So again, consumer says, fills out information on your website, clicks next. This basically brings them to the needs analysis portion. As you can see, they can skip this at any point, but what we really want as advisors is basically for them to fill this out. And again, this is all going to have tooltips. So this is the amount of debt owing on your house, your mortgage. Again, maybe you have some income replacement that you want to put in there for the client. And again, this is going to tell you things like how much they make. Do they have any kind of kids? Maybe they want education fund in there, 2 young children. Any sort of household debt. So again, $4,000. So they can fill in all these different things. As I said, you're going to see we put the tooltips in there. We find one of the other things about, sort of doing these needs, like clients don't know what they don't know. So they're not expecting, they probably don't research funeral costs. Maybe some of them do or have been through that experience, but most don't know the Canadian averages. So we add them in there to make it easy. Again, any kind of additional coverage, so you can see legacy, charity, things like that. You can put in there and give a value. I'll stop here. Also they can put in their current coverage. So these are going to reduce the asset. So if maybe they have a $100,000 term policy or something like that, we'll see that need reduce. But basically, we're capturing a lot of info on this prospect. They get a nice little preview built out for them. And again, this is all something that is very, very easy to insert in your website. So again, I'll show you in a little bit. It's just a copy and paste, but basically gives them the ability to go through. You can see it's going to research the insurance options, and this is all going to be based off your shelf. So when you set the preferred carriers in your actual LDA account, those are the ones it's going to reference for the client when they're surfing and browsing your website. And so you can see my report is ready. Again, this would all be driven on your site, so the client going through this can say, I want to review the report. Now, a couple other things to note is that this report itself, again, has already been created in your LDA account. So this is available to you immediately. You also immediately get an email. So you'll know that you've generated a lead. You'll know immediately when your client is on there and has received it. And again, this is like any other sort of shared case that LDA does. So if you're an existing LDA subscriber and familiar with that sort of functionality to share these digital links of cases, you know that it's heat mapping all of the, sort of the interactions of this client. So how much time I'm spending on this page. Did I go through the disclaimer, the mission statement? You can see that the client gets their own version of the needs analysis they built. So this is all sort of that information that I had put in there. Again, you can see just like our traditional needs analysis, they can interact with it, go through the different legend items here. And because I picked a need for a mortgage, you can see the options that it's produced me were term 10, term 20, and term 30. And you can see it went with the best product from my preferred companies, and that's why the products that I got showed up there. So again, you can customize that within your account so that products that again you actually want to sell obviously are going to come up there. And just like our regular cases, they're all interactive and dynamic. And again, for that DIY researcher who's looking for cost out there, they can actually come to the conclusion and see cost long term and things like that about how not only cost plays into initial pricing but also future pricing. So some more of that education, not that single drop down where they tell you they're looking for the rock bottom turn 10 price. So we find it's going to get a little bit more of an engaged user as our traditional reports would. Now, one of the things is you can customize the pages as well that come on this. So things like obviously when you do your regular LDA reports, you may have a traditional disclaimer and things like that. You may want to customize that for lead gen. So I'll show you how you can customize not only the pages that are displayed here, because you may want a more simplified report for online versus something with maybe the report components I've picked here. So again, you may want to have certain things like cost per thousand in there. You may think, what, my client's not going to get that if they're coming online, let's leave that out. And so you have full control over the output here. But again, they get a really good summary of some options for them. And again, depending on their time frame or their purpose, we're going to frame products that make sense for that time frame as well. Now, just like our regular shared case links, as I said, you do have the option, or the client has the option, as they're viewing the report, to apply today. Again, if they select an option and say, I'm interested in that kind of product, again, that's going to send a notification to your account indicating to the advisor that that's the one they're interested in. And again, our hope here is to give you more of that power for an independent advisor to have something, again, really easy to put on your website, but gives you sort of that power of the robo-advisor that can go B2C, or give those different off-ramps, right? So your advisor can come to you and do some research, or a prospect can come to you. There's lots of different ways you can use this as well. But, that's kind of a basic run-through of the output that comes through LDA Lead Gen. So all of that driven from your site. And again, as I say, anytime a prospect creates something on there, that's going to create a case in your account. So I'll just show really quickly here that if I come back to, say, my Life Design Analysis account, not only am I going to get notified of those opportunities and an email sent to me, if I go into my Manage Cases, I'm also going to be able to see that I've got a web lead for Bob Doe, and Bob was that client that we filled in from the website. So off your website, not only is it going to capture the client, produce a stunning report for them with your branding, with your preferred carriers, but you're going to capture all the information on that client. You'll have access to the case they created and even their needs analysis. So again, if I go in here and view Bob Doe, I can see any of the information they added in there. So you can see from that lead gen, we've captured their contact information, we've captured their needs analysis. Now, we could always go in there and we could actually edit that for them too. We might see that they've overstated something, if they've made a rounding error, or understated something, or forgot something altogether that we might want to add in there for them to think about. As you start to work with the prospect, you may start to communicate with them through things like the notes on the case. So even, as you in that case there is a comment section where they can comment back and forth, and you would see that over here in the comments area. You might start to add other products, and again, go back and forth with the client itself. So again, a lot of great kind of functionality in there that gives you the ability to basically produce an LDA case automatically for your prospects who are searching on your website and gathering information. So let's jump back then to implementation, because I know you're wondering, how do I install that? How do I get that on my website? That looks tough. Well, very, very easy, in fact. So the first step will actually be going to your subscription and adding the available add-ons. So this is not something that we recognize that everybody is going to want, but if you do have a website and you're looking to generate leads and you have an LDA subscription, again, go in there and add it as an available add-on. That will give you the permission in your My Account area, which basically gives you the ability to put in your own little domain. So, Life Design Analysis, or, I put mine on my site, but yours would be, insuranceadvisor.com, and then you would put that in your domain there. save and generate the token, and basically it's just this copy and paste of this token that we're going to need to put on our website. So I'll show that as well. Again, a very easy process. If you're not the one who manages your website, essentially all you would do is copy the snippet and send it to your website guy and say, or gal, and say, essentially this is where I'm looking to embed this behind this kind of call to action. So let me show you how easy that is just by walking through the process here. All right, so let's show you how easy this is. I'm going to go ahead over to a blank page in Life Design Analysis. So let me just save this. I'll just show you. The only thing I've got on this page is a simple paragraph tag. And you can see as a result, there is no information on this save page. I'll exit out. You can see, we've got no information in here. Now, again, if I went back to the page just to show, this is a very simple CMS page and gave it some gobbledygook here and said end paragraph kind of thing, all of a sudden I can save that. And you can see anything that, again, what we put on this page here in terms of HTML content is going to show up. So I just like to show that it is, sort of a brand new blank page to start with. And this is, again, where we're going to put our lead gen. And I'll just kind of erase everything there altogether. And basically the first step that, as I said, is that we want to go into the My Subscription area here to actually add and enable this this add-on. So again, I'm going to go ahead and edit my subscription here. And you can see I have an available add-on that I can just simply check off and again submit changes to enable that add-on. Now, once I enable the add-on, so again I would hit submit changes, it would bill my credit card. Basically within the My Account area up top here, we'll see that we have the ability to go down into our embed here. So you can see there's an embed, a token, and an allowed domain. And so basically what I do is I put in my website here. So again, you would put in your URL, and it's best to just simply copy and paste it right from the top. So you would go to your website, grab the full URL where it's going to appear, and just simply paste that in there. Now again, you'll save and generate the token, which will basically generate a piece of code like this. Now again, it's not necessarily important. Again, it includes things like your token, so you can just simply copy this. And again, if we come back to sort of that blank page that I was showing before, I just simply paste this into where I want it. Now again, it doesn't mean you can't have things wrapping around this. So you might start with some information on insurance. So it might be reasons to protect your family. It might be things like beware of insurance from the banks, and compare this quote to your mortgage insurance. There's lots of different landing pages you could structure this on. So you might even have a unique call to action for each page. So I'll just call this call to action cross-sell page or something like that. So again, this might be somewhere you might even work with mortgage brokers or something like that, right? And you want to send all their referrals to get a quote instantly. So you send them to this page that has a little bit of information on mortgage insurance from the bank versus independently owned life insurance. You paste in your iframe here, so that's our snippet of code. And again, watch what happens when we hit save. So all we had to do is really put in the code there. You'll probably want to customize it with some of your own information or your own text and style it all up. But you can see by simply adding in just that snippet of code, I was able to embed that in there. And again, all of that information that I want to input in there can automatically go through there. So again, all of this functionality is right out of the gate. Now you can see with mine, I do have a little bit of customization. So things like the colors are obviously very LDA in here, and those are things you'll also want to customize within your LDA Lead Gen to make sure that they look and feel right on your website. So that brings me to the customization portion of this. Now, again, like everything in LDA, we really want it to be customized for your liking. So there's two main levels of customization that I want to really encourage. And the first is obviously the colors of the lead gen here. And that can be done in the account settings. The second one is actually customizing the report components and the report notes that go to a specific lead gen one. So first I'm going to show you, how I could change my colors around on my custom lead gen. gen. Second, I'm going to show you how to customize those report components and just set up something really specific so it makes sense for an online audience. So again, I think that's the big thing that's different versus when you present in person and you can customize those. You really want to pick a simple set that really communicates the value on a simple level and doesn't get maybe too much into the weeds. So even things like IRR, I think personally those are great metrics. I would be leaving them off of my lead gen because I think it's too complex for a customer. But we can get into all of that. Let me first show you how you're going to set up the colors to make it look and feel correct in your website. All right, so if we take a look at ours, yes, it fits really well on our web page because all of the colors are kind of defaulted to be our colors. But let's just say for a second that we wanted, or we have a different color for our website. So again, I want to show how we can customize these to make it fit in there. I'm going to go into back to kind of the core LDA here. So I'm just going to open up a different tab and I'm just going to go into the account settings here. So, first we generated the token out of the My Account. That's where you do things like your Empire SSO and things like that. But the account settings, that's where you do all of kind of the case control, all of your system settings, your preferred carriers from things like LifeGuide. And remember, if you do have a LifeGuide subscription, enter that serial number for the exclusive LifeGuide discount. You also get exclusive features like multi-life and some extra goodies in there as well for being a LifeGuide subscriber. So make sure you do enter that in the My Subscription area as well for that discount. Back to lead gen, customizing. So a lot of you are probably familiar with the account settings area. This is where you've set things like your logo. If you haven't been in there in a while or you're just joining, definitely a good spot to go to customize things like your mission statement, all of your company information. Of course, one of the best things about it is customizing things like the color scheme to make sure your reports look exactly like your branding. So matching all of these different kind of palette colors to the branding of your organization. Now, the other thing though is when we embed something on our website, we also want to be able to customize those colors. And you saw that I had blue and green as my colors, which made a lot of sense for LDA, but if your brand is a little bit different, again, that's where you can go through and customize these. So if you have, sort of that hex number, go ahead and add it. If you're just using I'll use the picker here just to kind of give an example and say, maybe I have a red and, sort of a black brand or something like that. Or maybe it's, like a light gray or green, maybe it's even a Christmassy themed kind of little red and green action there. But basically all I have to do is put in my hex colors for my primary two brand colors and go ahead down to the bottom here and just hit save and continue. Now, once that saves and updates, all we have to do again is go over to our lead gen demo page here. And you'll see when I refresh the page, my colors have now taken those of the custom account settings. So again, remember, you can change these to your brand so it fits and lives in your website a little bit more seamlessly. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to take up full page either. You can kind of condense this off to the side. That is the nice thing about being a frame, but all of that sort of functionality is going to work all the way through. Now, the second piece of customization, as I was mentioning, comes through the form of selecting a specific preset. So again, we don't necessarily want all of our advanced report components, and we may want a specific note that speaks to this audience. So someone coming to our website online, perhaps they've had zero contact with us before, and we want to put some sort of context around the life insurance landscape. Maybe it's an Insurance 101. There could be lots of things that you'd want to add specific to your market, even maybe specific to the audience you're getting referrals from. So if you are doing, a cross-sell with that mortgage advisor as an example, and that's where the leads are coming through, you might have a blurb about bank-owned, creditor life insurance versus traditional life insurance. So again, first step in setting up something custom like this would actually be going into your Cases tab and making a report component preset. And so this is something where, again, you don't just have to use this for lead gen. This can be used for any sort of these stock situations where you want very specific report components or report notes for a situation here. You can see, we've got lots of different ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's add a new report component preset. And this is where I would go in and make something called lead gen or mortgage lead gen. Make it specific, so if you have to go back to it later, you can. But this is where you could put in things like a customized notes title. So again, maybe I'm a group benefits provider, and this is something that I'm going to send out to all of the companies that I work with, so I can partner with the people I provide group benefits for a supplemental term life program. And that might be exactly what it is. And I can start adding a little bit of information to this and say, beware of the banks. Did you know? Anyway, I'm going to add a custom note to this, and I'll just call this group benefits. I would add more customized notes. We'll get into a little bit more of the marketing side of things. I think every advisor out there is still going to want to have their own sort of personal flair over this. But remember, it's something that frames up the report. These are people who are not educated or who are unknown in terms of their education of life insurance. So anything in there that you think is helpful for them to understand the process, their options, your value proposition, that's a great place to put this given the nature of the audience of the clients that we're getting. Again, as I said, if this is something we know, we're saying that this is our standard template or preset form for when we get a lead gen, we want to think about the report components as well. Again, we're going to do our cover disclaimer. We may not want our mission statement because, again, we may be using that custom report note here that is going to describe all that for this specific situation. Again, we're going to say needs analysis personal. That's going to show us our user-built needs analysis. And then we want to show them things like the plan details, the annual premium, the cost of the total. We may want to get into if there's a cash value or an insurance benefit chart if they pick one of those whole life options. Things, I would keep it simple. So again, cost per 1,000 is an okay one. Sometimes it's hard for clients to wrap their mind around it. It's better if we can frame it up with unit cost. I definitely want that presentation summary, and I'm going to jump all the way to the bottom and just say I want, obviously, our contact details on there as well. So I'm going to keep these report components fairly light, fairly simple, because it speaks to this individual situation. Again, after you've got your preset, you can go ahead and save it. Okay, and after you've saved it, you can see here's my new one here that I just saved. You can see I already do have one that I've saved as lead gen for my demo, and that's what are currently generating the cases and specifications from that. But again, let's just say I made this new one here and I want to change it over. Again, back into the account settings over here, and you can see again under the case tab, if you just simply scroll down under sort of the basic kind of contact stuff, you are going to see that there are default report concepts for new cases, and you can see if you don't have one selected, it's just going to go with your default report components, but you can set one there. But you'll also see that there is a default report components for embedded forms, and this is your lead capture. So when I go here, I want to see my new note that I created, so I want to change that to lead gen GB, which is my group benefits kind of note that comes with it. So again, these are ways that you can customize it, and again, I'll switch mine right back here and just say that this is my lead gen template that I want. If you wanted to, again, change that template, just again, make sure you hit save after you're finished. So there is lots of customization, not only in terms of color, but also, sort of the report and the options that come out of that report. So really do customize it for that audience. It really does make the difference in steering them through it. But again, really, really easy process to go into your account settings, copy and paste your snippet, put it on your site, customize the colors, and even set up custom messaging and report components that are specific to the kind of the audience coming online there. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is probably almost equally as important. Obviously the technology is very easy to to purchase and implement. It's part one of the puzzle. Just because you put LDA Lead Gen on your website does not mean it's automatically going to drive traffic for you there, and that means you need to create an audience. Now, this does not have to be difficult, and I'm going to give you a lot of ideas, regardless of your technical ability. So certainly for the advisors who are comfortable and wanting to get into things like ad roll and paid advertising, that's a great way to do it. But again, you might have a prospecting list, or perhaps it's a client list of, where you were unsuccessful, a marketing list, a drip campaign, and there's lots of ways you can drive traffic to your lead gen page, or even build it in as part of your onboarding workflow. It can be used as just a capture for clients, just to ensure that they're getting engaged in that the process of filling in their needs and their purpose. And again, might even just save you inputting their client details and their dates of birth and things like that. So, again, there are lots of different ways you can drive traffic. There's different purposes to drive traffic. We're going to talk about a few of these different ideas today. So let's look at a number of different ideas. I know this is a big wall of text. You might use one of these, you might use a few of these. Again, it depends on, sort of your circle of influence. It depends on your business yourself. But I was on the phone the other day with a good friend and longtime Life Design Analysis subscriber, someone I've known since I got into this business. And they primarily run a group benefits company. But we wanted to chat with them. Obviously, a lot of the times with group benefits, they get into things like executive compensation for the top level executives. Well, one of the ideas we talked about was a supplemental term life insurance program. And this is something I used to do with my stepfather when he worked in insurance. He would approach the clients who he had sold group benefits for and who he was pitching, executive compensation to the leadership team. But he would also coordinate with HR for them to offer supplemental term life. A lot of insurance advisors know that supplemental term life, when bought through your group benefits, is quite expensive. They also know that 2 years insurance benefit is not often adequate for their clients. And so what you can do is actually partner with these companies that you're selling group benefits to and have them send out the information to their employees on a supplemental term package offer. Now, this would be a great way to actually direct that traffic of those people who are interested to your lead gen page. And I'll show you an example of this in a second. Now, the same sort of idea could work in the property casualty business. Again, if you sold maybe car and home auto insurance, or maybe you do referrals with a P&C business, you can partner with them, and every time an opportunity comes up for life insurance, they may not have the capacity to fulfill them. This is when they would, again, send that lead to you. Well, again, you could stand up a landing page that when they get a lead, basically visit the page, enter the client information, and direct those leads to you. They would also get that automated quote to help prep the client and maybe do a little bit of the heavy lifting for you. They might even send out an email or on your behalf to say, we've partnered with this life insurance company. If you're looking for a quote, they could send traffic to that page as well. So again, lots of different ways we can use our circle of influence. Another one, similar train of thought would be, if you work with a lot of mortgage brokers, and as they're selling, a mortgage to a client, rather than, bank-owned creditor insurance, you could even stand up a landing page, again, just that CMS page like I did, a little bit of information that speaks to creditor insurance versus independently owned, as well as a call to action to get your quote or do your review. And again, that's something you could partner with real estate agents if you have sort of a referral program going on, and again, stand up a page where maybe multiple mortgage brokers can actually send their clients when they have insurance needs to the same page. And again, that's how you can sort of gate traffic to the page and build those leads up. Now again, it doesn't have to be external partnerships or cross-sell opportunities. You might also set up email campaigns within your own practice. So, maybe you send a monthly mailer to all your prospects, but you can include a call to action to get a quote at the bottom. You might have a segmented list where you could send it to all your prospects and past leads, maybe ones you were unsuccessful with, to try and revisit them. And as I said, you, again, add it to your drip mailers. So if you are marketing out there, again, it might just be a link to review your insurance needs. Again, think about adding it to things like your social profiles. So if you're marketing your business on Facebook or LinkedIn, this is something that you could add to your profile section. So when you're posting, you can say, explore your options, or explore your insurance needs, or do perform a needs analysis. Again, something you could also add to your email signature so that it's getting more opportunity to get out there and people can start clicking on it. They'll visit the page and again, ideally generate more leads for you and more traffic. Now, the other option as well, and again, this one is something that you could either hire an agency or you could do it yourself. Companies have made it fairly easy, but you can also pay for traffic to get to that landing page. So, there's lots of different services out there. Google obviously is a big player in the ad space. Facebook makes it extremely easy for you to market to. And essentially, you'd go into their ad campaign area, put some kind of messaging together, and the call to action is the link to your retargeting site. And again, all of your sort of language can speak to looping back to perform a review, get a quote, ensure your needs are correct. And again, all of these different methods can send people to the landing page that you've got, or the page we set up for capturing these leads. And again, traffic is one piece of it, but capturing those leads and sending them down the funnel is the next piece. So let's look at a couple of these examples here. We've got some marketing collateral. These are templates and mailers, and I'll even show you an example of what we were doing back in the day before we even had sort of life design analysis at our disposal. But again, there's lots of different options. So again, if you think about your traditional marketing collateral, you may have, a brochure or a trifold or something like that. Again, think about something like a unique web landing page, and this is something that could direct directly to your lead gen page. Something like a digital mailer here. So again, this would be your emailer that talks about, life insurance, getting a review. This would be something you'd put in your drip or a group benefits booklet. So let me just take a look at these. First, I'm going to show you the digital mailer just to give you an idea here. And this is just a MailChimp template that I've actually set up. So if you wanted to download this, you could, and basically use it there. But basically, this is, sort of our email template. And we've set this to be fairly generic so that you can do things like go in and add your own logo. Again, it's got a fairly generic, protect and grow your wealth, and a little bit of a blurb about life insurance has never been easier, a little bit of a message to talk about, maybe an insurance checkup. Now, you can see there's a call to action, or in this case, it's a button to fill out your own self-assessment form. And this is essentially where we would want to link the URL to our lead gen landing page. So all we'd have to do is go to wherever our embedded LDA Lead Gen resides, so the dedicated location of it, your web page. I'm just going to copy the link here, and then I'm just going to paste that whole thing in there. Again, just save and close it. Now, I'll give you an idea here. Again, we've got lots of other information in here, like what are the benefits of having insurance. So feel free to customize this and wrap, whatever sort of message you'd like in there, or whatever makes sense for your audience. But this just gives you a fairly generic kind of template. Put your own logo in there. At the bottom, you can see we've got another kind of call to action. So this is, again, we click on this link, embed our lead gen code there, customize this with our name. I'll just give you an idea here. If we enter a preview mode, this is just sort of what it would look like. So we could send this out to prospects, or maybe this is part of a drip campaign that goes out to, we've given a seminar to a bunch of dentist doctors, and this is part of our follow-up that says if you're interested in your own quote, visit our lead gen page here. And you can see, this is how it would look on a desktop, this is kind of how it would look on a mobile phone, and this is something that you can download. Now the nice thing too is if a prospect is interested, all they have to do is click on the call to action or the button, and as you can see, it's going to load up our LDA Lead Gen page where they can go through, capture, and work with a different audience. So, a really great way to engage. As I said, that's kind of a digital mailer. Again, a lot of people are using, sort of a trifold. So if you do have a piece of handout material, we designed this one on Canva. This is another free template where you can put your name, logo, email. But again, the same sort of thing. You would say, I want to use this template, and you can customize all the messaging and things like that, but things like where they have your website URL. Again, this is where we could go in, put things like our lead gen URL, and you might clean that up, use a hyperlink or something. Yours won't be quite as long. And use that as a nice call to action. So, perhaps you do a seminar, you can give this out, and when people go to visit this simple landing page, they get taken to essentially a full-on customized quote thing. And I'll show you the last as well, group benefits booklet. This was just, I wish we had lead gen done in these days, but basically this was a booklet we created. This is sort of the high-res version. We gave a sample monthly premium schedule, but you wouldn't necessarily have to do that because, again, the call to action is going to be, reviewing your own quote. So again, this is, something that was designed at an employee term and spouse renewal plan. So it talks about a few of the benefits. And again, a little message to the employees and spouses. This one was from Larry, my stepfather, and we basically stood up a unique page. Now, the nice thing is if we were doing this today, the call to action or the unique URL could send us right to our lead gen page. And rather than have someone look at a table, we could actually design custom quotes that had real pricing unique to them. Again, full-on needs analysis, and it gives you the opportunity to use things like that buy it now button. So if you do have a customer who wants to be fully digital, absolutely you can do that, or you can onboard them to sort of your process. But it does give your client those options for sort of that hybrid distribution. So those are a couple different ideas, but remember, you can make this and sort of embedded in your process, because it really stands behind a call to action and that curiosity of customers to say, I am interested in what it costs, but quite often they do want to do it on their own. So these give them kind of a way to put a little bit of information, dress it up in a nice package with your logo, maybe customize it for a specific company who you're doing group benefits and it's more of a cross-sell with, but let them dictate and drive the information they're looking to get. Give them something that's going to be engaging and interactive, and not just give them a single option. Going to give them multiple different options and let you know about it. And again, I want you to think about, the impact of that. I mean, it is a $600 add-on, but if this is a process and if this is a new area of business that you're looking to get into, it's a relatively low impact in terms of costs. I mean, when we talk about, the technology challenge of competing with a full-on B2C site who has, the full capacity of their business to invest in tech, they should, because that's 100% of their business. For an independent advisor, this may just be a portion of your business. So again, we want to give you the ability to compete on that level, but for something very affordable and something that you can integrate into lots of different areas of your workflow. Again, I think this stat is particularly interesting, and it surveys a lot of different age groups of, you can see millennials, Gen X, and boomers. And it talks about how often, or the importance of someone's website. And, not only it used to be, having a website was important, and then it became a table stake. And now having a nice website is important because, arguably our customers are going to judge us on our professionalism. And, if we don't have a nice website, it doesn't portray very well. You can also see 2/3 of customers would not do business with an advisor who has an out-of-date site. And you can see the one I find is also very interesting is, I would like to educate myself about insurance on an insurance agent advisor's website. And if you look at the total, 73% of the population said that they want to actually educate themselves about insurance on your page. So this can be things like some of that wrapper content that talks about the generalities of insurance or the different types. A lot of people also want to get that quote that needs analysis and perform a little bit of research. It's not surprising that millennials lead that category. 81% of them want to do this. So again, if you are working with younger up-and-coming clients, it's a very, very large segment of the population out there. Millennials representing obviously the largest population segment. Gen X, though, again, very, very high, 76%, and boomers coming in at the tail end of that, still very strong. When I look at my parents, they want to get online, they want to do research, and they don't like to feel excluded. So this makes it very easy for them to go through and get some information. But I think it's clear with how consumers rate their likelihood to do more of their financial business online within the next 5 years, and with the progression of sort of the other tools and the other players in the game, I think it's going to be important for advisors to be able to compete on this playing field. And while I'd also say it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest part of your business to be an important part of your business, it may be something that you want to integrate into your workflow so that in the future, it is something that you can evolve with and learn from. Because again, I think, a lot of advisors, we talk about the commoditization of term. We see some of the big players in the market and some of their, maybe tactics to advertise. And again, it's important to have that kind of presence because younger consumers, older consumers, middle-aged consumers, they are going online to find the information. They want to validate it. Many of them still want to use insurance advisors, and we need a link to ourselves online and a way for us to capture that kind of information and earn that information of our prospects, because it's not just capturing a lead. The lead has to be quality, and they have to want to go through the process and have a purpose. They have to be committed to buying from a person. So if they are looking to you at the end of the road or looking to an independent advisor, it's much easier to capture them if you have the proper tools. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching today. Hopefully you've got a lot of ideas, and if you do want more information on our product, definitely visit lifedesignanalysis.com. Sign up for your free trial if you haven't tried us before. Again, Lead Gen is something that can be added to any Life Design Analysis subscription, so you do have to have a subscription, and then you can have it as the add-on. But remember, a lot of different ways that we can cross-sell, and if you think about the value and how many leads would it take if you were buying them externally, $80, $90 a lead. and think about the quality. So again, this is something that you can actually impart some of your personalization and some of your wisdom on, as well as capture a quote that's appropriate for their purpose. So anyway, I hope I've given you a lot to think about. If you do want any of the templates that we've shared today, reach out to us on our live chat, and we'll try and provide some of them in the follow-up email for you. So thank you so much for joining, and take care, everyone.